20 and 2 30-pounders. As you do.
Easy as that, as you do, like, you know.
So, happy days. Welcome to the Winter Series 5 at Linear Fisheries. Welcome to the DNA Baits Winter Series 5. And yeah, nothing's changed. We're into a fish.
It's cold, isn't it?
Yeah! That's because it's February. We're out fishing. Yeah, it's as you'll see, it's like dark. That's because we've turned up, and yeah, the lake's been quite busy, so we've had to wait for pegs. We could have got in pegs, but there's like where we've seen a couple of fish, and where the odd fish was caught. Oh, there you are. He's kicking off, angry after dark. Yeah, so we had to wait for a peg where we felt like we were going to get bite, and yeah, we got bite, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, the lads that pulled out of these swims, not gonna lie, they caught before us, and it seems silly to not go in here. So we've got in these pegs, but we didn't have a lot of time. You know, obviously it gets dark at like just gone 5, so we didn't mess about. Got set up, got the rods out, and yeah, we're into a fish. Not been out there that long. So yeah, happy days. Hopefully be the first of a few on B1. Obviously you know, quite a notorious winter venue. I mean, it is freezing. I've had to get my bobble hat on, but could be worse. Oh, hey, I've just wiped tongue out.
There's this left arm rod as well.
I better walk down, don't I? Right, you'll have to give me 5. I'll be back. Right, well, we're now in tongs, Peg.
Mate, I can't hold this camera. I actually can't hold it.
Man up, Lee.
God, Jesus, man. Mate, we're like stood in the like middle of. Oh, need a cuddle. But I cold my hands up.
Stop touching me. This thing is angry. I bet it's about £10.
Do you reckon?
Oh, mate, you just know when you at them.
Now what you done?
Well, I'm just caning tongue, aren't I?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I didn't start all this.
Oh No, he proper done him, isn't that?
Well, he's like slack lining everywhere, isn't he? Like, look, it's like sloppy jalopy.
Oh, don't go out any further.
Okay, well, no, he's going to get all three of them.
Oh no.
He will make me redo these. He will be like, you're doing that.
God, what are them lines doing?
I don't know. Oh, look how slack they are. He's over here now, this thing. He's come off. Right, not the fish hasn't come off. The fish has come off his line, I mean.
Oh, right.
Not that rubbish, hopefully. Oh, oh, oh. Yeah, look at it. Look how angry it is. Oh, nice to get an early bite. Come on, you beaut. Have we got landing it early?
No.
I have. Oh, it's a common.
On the common. And it is about £10.
Give me some credit. It's 15. My days of £8 commons are done. I'm telling you now. I'm a reformed angler. Come here, baby. Yes. Welcome to the winter series. Crackhead common. Nice. Oh, it's blind. Look. Must be blind to eat my own bait. Look at the little leeches on him. Get off. There you go. That's the first one of the session. He's half blind. He's only got one eye, bless him. Yeah, first one of the session. Started off 10 big bombs, like crumbled up switch, a bit of pineapple spod syrup, and a few trevs in there. Trevs of corn. Yeah, just enough to get this bite really. Just wanted to start off by nicking a fish to start with, and we can go from there. But yeah, nice. I don't know what it is, 18, 20 pound. Yeah, little PB hook bait, tip with a few maggots. Just standard winter fishing. But yeah, nice to get off the mark. Brilliant. Well,
Bartman,
yeah, man.
it's been emotional. I've never fished with you. I've known you some years. I've never fished with you.
I know, sort of. Don't know. Yeah, our paths just haven't really.
That's only because you're mustard on venues like this and I'm not. So I'm about to get
Oh,
dusted
don't
up.
start all that.
Well, it's already started because you already had one.
Yeah, I know, but it's not.
I'm still
it's
trying
not
to
the
figure
point,
out
is
where
it?
to put my bivvy that's not in the mud bath, and you've already had one.
No, I mean, like, it's good winter venue, so hopefully we'll get a couple. You know, you fish a bit of bait.
And they have been coming over bait as well, haven't they?
Yeah. So there's been a few fish out. So like, hopefully we'll get a couple of bites. And yeah, it's just
And
decent
I've
fishing.
smelt your mix earlier as you. Looks like you've got probably something.
I can't tell you what's in there.
Well, I didn't think for a minute you were going to tell me. I thought it was something.
Nothing you won't have in the van. But
So what have you got? What are you putting out?
well, so like just basically, so I've soaked some boilies, and just a bit of corn, and then just plenty of liquid. Just going to like fracture all the boilies up, so they're like not too much food, but a lot of attraction. Yeah, a bit of colour, a bit of smell.
Yeah.
Bit of decent grub for them.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean the water's quite deep, so also like the undertow, you got to be careful of with the wind and stuff like that. So you actually want to make sure that you feed a bait. Like it's all right, sort of smashing all your bait up to absolutely nothing, but in a big wind, it's not even going to be in your peg.
Yeah.
So like you at this, as much as you want not a lot of food and you just want to attract them in, you've still got to get some bait to the bottom.
Yeah.
You know, which obviously has to be in a bit of a bigger form to get to the bottom.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a, you know, just
and it is a bit
juggling
gusty,
about.
isn't it? I'm a bit out of my comfort zone, if I'm honest. I don't like spodding too much, and I'm not quite as far as you because you're a monster caster, aren't you?
Yeah, well, it won't be like you don't have to fish that far on this venue. Like I don't fish up here all the time on this lake, but when I do fish it, like one of the things that's always been key is like not to go too far, just because if they do want a bit of food, obviously the further you go, it's like,
well, you're keeping them out there, aren't you?
Yeah, you're keeping them out there, and obviously when you get them closer, you can feed more and catch them quicker.
Yeah.
Like, hopefully get a couple. They're good fish as well, like, you know.
They have tonked it on, haven't they? I think maybe since they've stopped the maggots, obviously people are feeding more proper bait, and obviously getting a bit more nutrition, aren't they? Because there's tons of 20 and 30 pounders now, aren't there?
Yeah, I mean, I bet there's getting on for, I wouldn't know to say, maybe 10 fish that are either over £40 or around £40.
Jesus.
And yeah, they're big fish. I think the biggest one's about £46.
Really?
Yeah.
And it's bizarre, when Roy used to run the place, we used to pull up at the gate and feed them and fish 20 yards out before it was open.
Yeah, I remember.
And they were all like that big.
Yeah, I remember.
And now they're just full of 30s and 40s.
The commons and that, when me and Kev started fishing, they were just like tossing bags in the middle, and you're catching like, you know, like low doubles and odd 20-pounder.
That's good to see. It's properly matured now. It's come on, hasn't it?
It's a really, really good fishing lake, this. You know, I've fished up round on this complex and on this lake, and sort of really, you know, the fishing that I do, I've really put it into practice and learnt it at the same time on these lakes, and it's, you know, it's a go-to tactic you can take anywhere, really.
Yeah. Approach-wise, the rigs, again, boring old German rigs, they keep on working for me. So I've got two little yellow PBs and I've got a little white PB, both wafters, little barrel wafters. The smaller ones just to mimic, still a big size 4 KD hook, but I put a smaller wafter on just because I'm feeding 8mm switch, got a bit of mixed particle like the pigeon conditioner, red band sort of stuff, and a kilo of core in there, so it's all very visual. So I thought the yellows, I'll just try a white because the white is normally my go-to colour in the winter. And I've got them all at the same range, exactly the same as what Bart's doing. Bart's fishing a bit further.
So I'm just going to fish like a leg clip setup, D-rig on a couple of rods, you know, supple D-rig, small bright hook baits. I might put a few maggots on the top. You're allowed to do that with hook baits here. And yeah, I might put a little coated hook length with just a little trim down pop-up, just sat up off the deck a little bit, which are pretty much, you know, they are quite standard rigs for here. It's not very technical fishing. There's very little weed and stuff that is going to hinder any rigs. Obviously it's a really popular lake as well, so where so many anglers fish it, and they sort of, you know, they fish generally the same sort of areas. You imagine like these pegs, they see so many different fishermen. The next guy will come in a peg and he'll fish, you know, like an average range for spodding, I would say, is anywhere from like 80 to 120 yards. So that sort of band of the bottom of the lake, on here all the way around at that distance, is really, really clean. And yeah, so that's like my approach. I'm not fishing too far. I'm fishing 22 rod lengths, which is, what's that, 88 yards. So it's not, you know, it's right on that sort of area. The bottom's nice there, and that's it really. It's just going to be quite simple fishing.
So I've re-spodded again, probably put about another 6 to 8 spods in. I had a recast just to top the area up, because it is one of them waters where they come to the spawn, so you can sometimes get quick bites, but still nothing has materialised. But we keep on plugging away, and we keep on using the old German rigs because they don't normally let me down. So fingers crossed that is one of these sessions where they don't let me down.
Literally, this rod's been out there, I put it out just on darkness. Been out there probably a quarter of an hour, the light's just going, and yeah, it's tanked off. Feels half decent. So hopefully, play this in, we'll get another one in the bag. I reckon this one's out of Bonesy's peg. There you go, another one in the bag. Definitely out of Bonesy's peg. There you go. Just over 26 this one went. Happy days. Bonesy, wish you were here. Is that on? There you go. There's a 28 pounder. Yeah, I've had this one off the bait, which I always go to because I've got 3 rods of the bait, so I was only ever going to catch them on the bait. But yeah, this one went just shy of 30 pound. It's about, I don't know, hour and a half after that last fish. What a brilliant average. The fish that we've had are, you know, they're all decent chunky fish. You can't ask for more than that really from a venue. There's loads of big fish in here. Oh, no way.
Huh?
No way.
Oh no! He's kicking off, Bar.
I'm not even going to say anything. Oh, he's angry, Lee. He's had his shreddies, isn't he? He's had his switch, isn't he? Nah, he's alright. He's never. That's a good one. There you go. The first 30 pounder of the trip, 31.6. Pretty cool, really. I was just popping that 29 pounder back, and as he was swimming out the sling, the left-hander ticked away. This brute on the end. Happy days. Yeah, they are starting to feed quite hard now. You know, we've had good number of bites in a really short period of time, so yeah, they really are getting on that bait quite nicely.
So I'd like to say it's been a busy night for me, but I've caught absolutely nothing. But I have been absolutely astounded by what is nothing short of an angling masterclass by the Bartman. I'm not going to tell you how many bites and fish he's had because I'll let him do that, but I have witnessed something that I never thought I would witness. Nothing short of just proper. I'm proper impressed. Even though I've caught nothing, I've thoroughly enjoyed it because I've watched somebody that is a master at this style of fishing, and certainly in a big cold crosswind like we've had in the session, it's just blown my mind, to be honest. So tell us what you've had, Mr. Bartlett.
Well, going into last night, not a lot, but yeah, no, it's come good, which, to be honest, I kind of thought it might do. You know, I have fished this lake a few times and I know how it works. You know, when they rock up, they rock up. So when you get it right, you know, it takes a bit of time to get your bait, your spot established, but, you know, like we've said, you use a decent bait on a decent spot. It is quite simple fishing, and you know, you can get these. I mean, last night I've ended up, I think I've had 17 now, 330s, 329.5s, 28s, 27s, a few smaller ones, a few stockies.
In fairness,
yeah.
you did decide to reel in at 4 AM because you broke Morris, didn't you?
I wound in. I thought, should I get some kip? I thought, nah. Warmed up, bit of fresh clothing, but rod's back out at 6 o'clock and 3 bites at first light, a 20 and 2 30 pounders, as you do.
Easy as that, as
yeah.
you do, like, you know. But he is the most chilled out bloke. It's just, I've really enjoyed it. Whilst I'm cold and it's muddy, I've experienced something that I've never seen at close quarters before, and it's blown my mind, to be honest.
Yeah, but like we were chatting, you know, we were talking about the competitions and stuff like that, and it's, you know, you fish a good lake with good fishing, with good people, and like it's just good times, isn't it? It's just,
yeah.
And to me, that's what's fishing.
Well, yesterday we were chatting for a good couple of hours. I was asking Bart all about not what he does or what his little edges are, but just his whole mindset when he fishes with Kev in the matches, and it's just phenomenal, really. It's really opened my eyes. It's not just about being lucky, is it? It's about your preparation, which is exactly the same for this session, isn't it? You prepare, you know what you're doing, you're confident in a big wind that you can still fish accurate. And mate, it's I have to doff my cap. I don't have an issue saying to someone that's absolutely smashed me to pieces.
Yeah,
it's just awesome to see. Awesome.
good times. So this is just a little bit of a closer look at the rig that I've been using for this session, and just for a couple of reasons like why I'm actually using it this trip is, firstly, it's dead simple, really easy to tie. If you need a few extra rigs, you can tie them up quickly, and especially fishing a venue like this where, you know, multiple hits can be on the cards. You don't want to be sat in your bivvy wasting time tying up fancy, like, you know, all Fandango rigs and everything like that. So it's just a super simple rig that I can knock up if I need to knock one up quickly. I've also chose it just because of the wind. We've been fishing in a big side wind this session, and this just doesn't tangle. It's like just the nature of it, it just doesn't tangle. It's dead easy to tie, like I say, and it's just no nonsense fishing. Fishing this lake, yeah, granted, it's not the hardest lake in the world to catch fish from, but what is, you know, what you've got to do to get a bit of a hit on the cards, especially this time of year, is to have all your stuff sorted out, and doing that can mean not wasting any time. So you imagine, like, when these fish come in your peg, you know, as you've seen, like double, triple takes are, you know, they're quite realistic. They're on the cards all the time when the fish are in your peg. So you don't want to be faffing about. I just want a new rig, or like have these tied up, tie like 4 or 5 up before, you know, just before I get into bed for the next day or through the night or whatever. I don't want to be sat up for hours wasting time, you know, and it is a social session. I don't want to be sat in my bivvy knocking up rigs when I'm like fishing with my friends or, you know, all that. So the actual rig itself is just a 19-pound Illusion hook length. I've got an anti-tangle sleeve one end and a loop, obviously, to go on my quick change clip for my leg clip setup. And on the business end, I've got a size 5 beak point stiff rig hook, little rig ring swivel. That's tied D-rig style, which is dead easy. So for those of you that don't know, a D-rig, basically, the way I tie it is just, you go through the hook, exactly the same as what you would tie a knotless knot. I'll go around like 6 or 7 times, back through the eye, and then you just put your little swivel on and you feed the tag end back through the eye as well, chop it off and blob it with a lighter. And then I've just got a 10mm PB pop up and 6 or 8 maggots flossed on as well, just for a bit of added attraction. Obviously, like this sort of fishing is, you know, it's quite heavy, like bait heavy orientated. Now, if you were to match the hatch, say, like, you know, use like a switch bottom bait or something like that, it could take you quite a while to get a bite. If you were fishing for really tricky fish, then I'd say, like, yeah, sure, no problem. But with this sort of fishing, when they come into your peg, they can't help themselves. Like, look how attractive that is. You can imagine that sitting over your bait on the bottom. They just can't help themselves but pick it up. And, you know, it's quite an aggressive rig as well. You've got like a decent gape on the hook, the way that, you know, you've got like a fluorocarbon hook length and a nice decent size hook, and it just catches them every time. And yeah, it's just perfect. You get no tangles, it's no nonsense, they're easy to tie, and it's just a no-brainer really. Another little thing you would have noticed is that I actually massage a bit of the PB booster oil in, flavouring into the hook bait. Although they're quite heavily flavoured pop-ups, and you can obviously add it into your pop-ups and let it soak in there whilst you're not fishing, I always like to just put a few dabs on and just massage it in. And when you chuck out, I think that if those fish are in your peg and feeding, especially at night, they can just hone in onto that hook bait, because you can imagine you got say 4 or 5 fish, 6 or 7 fish on that spot out there feeding on the bottom. That can quite easily become like clouding up, coloured up, especially when you're introducing like, you know, crumb boilie and the spod syrups and stuff like that. All of a sudden, your peg can become actually quite cloudy if you think about it. And by having that, just that smell coming off your hook bait, it's just something that they can lock onto and just, you know, just go straight to the hook bait without actually having to either see it. They can just use their, you know, use their sense of smell and find it very quickly. Wow.
Well, I'm wrapped up and I'm bolting because I'm not going to take any more embarrassing.
I'm going to stay on. Give it a day, I think, because, well, let's face it, it would actually be nice to get a few bites in the daylight.
In the daylight, yeah.
So I got Mozza poking that.
Moaning. Oh, I'm tired. I don't want to do it anymore. I'm fed up of it. Oh no.
Crying like a little girl, weren't you, Lee?
But no, seriously, mate, it's been an eye opener, to say the least. Not only are you excellent company, you're not bad at this carp fishing, are you? I don't know why you're like always.
You didn't let me cook
two.
for you though, did you?
No, because I'd rather eat tripe than dine on mussels and fillet steak and all sorts of
I'll
niceties.
knock you up a little 3-course meal, you know.
Them wraps were torture yesterday. I was watching you loaded down with pig pudding and sausage and bacon.
Oh yeah.
I had porridge.
Too right.
It's lovely. But anyway.
Right. Nah, it's been a pleasure. We'll have a cuddle.
Legend. Yeah. Oh, well done, mate. Awesome bit of angling I've experienced there. Well done.
Cheers. So I'm just trickling a little bit more bait out, and I'm going to knock up a mix for tonight. So I'm just going to put the last bit of my bait out now, and then show you exactly in a little bit more detail what bait we're using, why we're using it, and how we use it. And the brilliant thing with this lake is that, like, you don't have to tread on eggshells with your fishing, and you can not be like mega aggressive with your fishing, but like you just get into like a nice fluent rhythm, you know, and you like repeat sort of like the repetition of your fishing is like really, really nice. So you can always feel like you can put a bit of bait in if you need to, or if you feel like it's going to change it, you know. Now whether that be, if you feel like you got loads of fish on you, you might just put like 3, 4, 5 spods out. And if you feel like you sort of like need to have a little bit of a load up ready for the evening, you could put maybe 20 big spoms out. You know, so you've got a nice bed. You just got to feel how the session goes. But obviously these fish, they, you know, they are big, and they're not big for no reason. There's probably a dozen 40-pounders, maybe 150 fish over 30 pound at least. And you know, they don't get that size through eating nothing. Now, although it is a popular lake, you know, these lakes, they see it all. They do see it all. So like, as long as you're just nice and tidy with your fishing, but don't ever be scared to like make a change or do something, because at the end of the day, if you're sitting here doing exactly the same as everybody else on the lake, you're going to catch the same as everybody else. So, you know, for example, like, you know, at the minute, yeah, we're catching, and so are other people. The weather's good for February, so fish are going to get caught. But if I were to come on here and there'd be 50 blokes on here and no one's caught a bite in 2 days, like, the last thing I'm going to do is probably fish on the bottom when you've got 49 other blokes telling you that nothing's feeding on the bottom. So like, it's all, you know, it all goes in like hand in hand. But at the minute, like I say, you know, the fish are willing to feed, and if you get your baiting right, like actually your bait that you're using and your bait application right, with the right rigs over the top, like, you know, the fish aren't never that far away really. With just the nature of the lake, like, we're just plumb centre of the pond, you're always going to get a few, you know, a few traffic up and down, fish moving about, and yeah, it is like, it is nice fishing to be able to, you know, you don't want to thinking, oh, I'm not going to recast because I might spook anything, or I don't want to put too much bait in and overkill it. Now, you could overdo it on here, like, just because there's a lot of fish in here doesn't mean that you can just spod the death out of it all day long, every day. Like, there's a bloke on the other side who's been spodding, and quite heavily, and he's only caught 1 fish, and like the lads either side of him have caught a couple, and they're not baiting half as much. now. So, but that's just something you develop, like, you know, and that you have to gain confidence in. And you'll only do that, you'll only get that confidence by actually getting out and doing it. It's all right, you know, it's all well and good, like, you know, the likes of us anglers saying, oh yeah, do this, do that. But there's nothing better than actually getting out on the bank and putting it into practice for yourself. And you know what it's like, you have your favourite rig or your favourite pop-up or whatever. As soon as you sort of catch on it, you gain, like, you know, you gain great confidence in actually doing it. And yeah, I've got great confidence in what I do, and you know, clearly you can see that it works. So yeah, so I'm going to get this last couple of spods out, and then we'll have a look as I'm making a new mix up for later. Nice fresh mix, exactly how to do it. Right, so we're just going to have a better look at the actual mix that we've been using to fish this session, and it's a pretty standard winter mix that I would use sort of most venues really. Just a nice, attractive, digestible spod mix. And we got a bite. Where's your light, Lee?
Yeah, I was about to say.
So, yeah, so this is the first bite that I can actually see what I'm doing. Maybe it's a switch to an orange hookbait maybe for the daylight hours. But there you go. There's another one. This one actually changed the colour of the hookbait. I put a little 12mm Fruitylicious hookbait on, nice bright orange one. Because obviously it was doing my head in a little bit while I hadn't actually caught in the day, so I thought I'd just go like mega blatant over the bait, and yeah, it's, you know, it has gone. So like I was saying earlier, if you think about something, you know, you've got no reason not to try it, and you can certainly do that on this, you know, this lake, and you know, it pays off. You get an extra bite here and there. Yeah, so beautiful. Well, what I'm going to do is pop this one back. And like we were saying, we're just starting to have a look at that bait in a bit more depth. So I'm going to get this one back, get the rod back out, and then carry on where we were. Right, so I'm just going to go back to, you know, what I was talking about with the mix that we're using, and how that it's dead simple. It's perfect and lends itself to winter fishing, no end. And all I've done is, before I've come to my session, I've got my switch boilies. I've got mixed sizes in this bucket. I've got 8mm and I've got 12mm, and I've soaked them in a bit of boiling water. I've put some switch spod syrup in the bucket, whizzed it round as they're soaking. That's drawn all that attraction into the bait. And now obviously we're fishing. You can see, so all you do, get a great big handful, get it over your bucket, and just massage it through your hand. Doesn't matter if a few whole ones fall in, you want that as well. You know, you want some food in there. And what you'll find is the baits fracture up really nicely. So some edges come off the boilies, some split in half, some crumb right up. And all this does is just gives you a range of baits in your peg, and, like, you know, different consistencies, sizes, attraction. And this will just help you keep your peg working all night, or like for the whole of your session as you introduce it. Keeps them grubbing around, but doesn't really fill them up. So I've got 3 big handfuls in there, 2 tins of corn, And then all I do, fluff that around, and you just got to gauge it to how you want it. You know, if you want to put more corn in than boilie, then that's absolutely fine. You can do what you want. I like at this time of year probably 2/3 mulch boilie and 8 millers and about 1/3 of corn. So I'll just put a little bit more of this in to get that ratio.
2 minutes.
And then the only other thing I do is the pineapple spod syrup. Just a little dollop of that, whiz it round, and it smells absolutely beautiful. You get a nice sweet mix, and you can see there it's like nice and claggy, so like when it goes in the spom, it's going to pull down through the deep water, and you make sure you get all your bits to the bottom. You know, it's not going to float off with a toe or anything, and that's going to keep them carp grubbing around, you know, whilst they're in the peg, and encourage others to feed as well. And that's it. So I'm going to put a bit more of this out ready for the night time and see what happens. Hopefully we can have another good night's fishing. Well, good morning. As you'll notice, I'm in a different peg, and that is because I moved in the middle of the night. I felt like my peg went a bit stale. I never caught nothing through the day, and I was finding it, you know, really hard work to get bite in the day, and I just feel like the fish were up to my right. Those pegs were actually closed, like as I was fishing in the other swim. The couple of pegs to my right were actually closed and were left empty whilst I was fishing, and I feel like the fish just moved into that area. One of them became open again, like 2 pegs up to my right, so I've just moved in here. You know, well, I moved at 1 o'clock in the morning. It was 1 o'clock in the morning by the time I got the rods back out. I haven't really changed anything, so I'm fishing like the same distance with the same rigs, the same bait. I've just moved, you know, moved spots, and yeah, it's looking pretty bleak, to be honest. So I mean, I'm going to give it, I'm not going to sit here and try and slog it out for one fish. You know, I've had some great fishing, I've caught some good fish. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cook some breakfast, you know, give that an hour whilst I pack away, and then I'm going to chip off. So I hope you've enjoyed this session, the winter series, and yeah, it's been nice to be out on the bank and catching some fish. So enjoy your fishing.